James Murphy from LaGuardia High School on teaching math with string figures.
Thank you.
Figures.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I actually here on the protest, the first time I've been in the classroom in 18 years. I retired, but this is my textbook. And essentially, I dealt with students who were math-phobic. They did not want to do math and were in danger of failing out of school. So, I did a little thinking, and I noticed, when I quizzed me, that the better students in the school were the instrumentalists. And it's because they had an intricate hands dance as they were playing their instruments. And I, being a Cherokee Indian and have done little string figures when I was a child, began looking at the literature and found enough information that I could make a mathematics out of doing string figures, which is hand manipulation. And I started out two loops, which is essentially where it's a simple thing. And in 1904, with the Osage Indians in St. Louis Exposition, they learned how to do two diamonds. Now when a student, child, I still call them children, gets like that on their hands, they don't take it off because they don't want to lose it. But you see, I then made up a way of making different string figures. You have to pay attention to which hand goes first. I do left hand first. I hold, touch my nose, everything else the same. So since they have now practiced that Ur figure, they can make one diamond. And if they pay attention and do the other hand, you can imagine that they do something different, and indeed they do. They make three diamonds. Put your hand through the center, one hand. And you see that that's X on the top there? That catches her. That lets her go. It's magic. Okay? So the kids love it. The kids absolutely love it. Graduate to 3. Now I'm beginning to think about group theory. Identity element. And let me make the figure first and go back to that idea. This is an Inuit figure. And this is the way that I streamlined how to make it. And it is a fishnet. Okay? And again, when a child gets that on their fingers, they don't want to let go. Never. You have to disabuse them, grab it off their hands and make them do it again. But they will do it again, and that's the great thing, is that they will practice until they can do it perfectly every time. Now, that figure, these things don't work. They graduate to doing grown-up figures. And I don't have too much time, it just takes a little while to do. Okay. Now, that first operation, which is group theory, is over one, pick up, lift out. If I want to do the inverse, I would lift it back and do the inverse, and it would disappear, of course, because it cancels. But if I roll the figure and then do the inverse, I have, by rolling the figure, made it so that it doesn't cancel. And then I can put it back to the original position and kink the center. Now I'm going to make an iterative function. Again, operation, roll, and you'll see that this is much like playing an instrument. And your hands become practiced, and you're thinking with your hands. And there I have finished the second iteration. I won't do it 4 times. It's kind of like watching grass grow. It's the way life is, okay? There's the third. Shoba, shoba, shoba. Now the fourth. Now, of course, if you do anything incorrectly, things not going to work. And you'll see that this is a huge number of Markovian, operations. And if any one of them is wrong, it doesn't work. But I hope I did it right. So now I'm going to finish this figure to show it by doing the original Inouye neck from the beginning. So that it is on the outside of the figure. You'll also notice that it doesn't show. So I had to figure out a way, and I called it Murphy's Power Lift. And you show what it is. Now, you understand that when they get this on their hands, they are convinced they can do anything. Because they had never imagined that they could do something like this. And when they did, you have it. And all you have to say is, the way you learn this is the way you learn anything. You start in the beginning, you practice until you can do it well, and you practice until you can do it perfectly, and then you begin to change it and think with it. It's a language. Okay? Now, oops. Oh, it's also an interesting reality. There it is. I always carry strings. This is a hexagon. And another figure that I do, matter of fact, before I do the Inouye neck, is called the Tin Men. Because the people who were trying to Christianize South Sea Islanders thought they saw men doing a side straddle hop whenever the figure is displayed, but it's actually just a fishnet. Here is the operation. I call it A. Here is the operation again. And there is the figure. Now that's a hexagon. And each of those colors are 60 degrees away from each other. But they hold themselves because of the topology of the figure.
Do you have two colors there? The red and green?
That's two colors, green and red. See? Okay? Now, the reason I teach this first after the diamonds is because it's fairly easy to do. Easier to learn than the Inouye neck. And it also has many more operations which are very quickly learned. The near little finger is A, B is the far little finger under, C is the far little finger over, D is the near little finger under then over, and E is over then under. And A, followed by A prime, finished is nothing. A prime, followed by A, is nothing. But here is a mystery. Took me a while to figure it out. Let's do a C prime. A, B, A. And I get 10 men. Because a triplet, like C prime A, B, devolves into the simple A. And there are 5 triplets, and depending on which weave comes before them, you can get a simplification to one operation, which gives you a lot of leeway to make very complex figures. Okay. You'll have to put up with me because I want to make 2 fancy figures and then talk to you. I've got some stuff to give you. My screed on algorithmic learning and its consequences. A little thing, a graph I lifted out of the Science magazine about when children learn and when is the best time to teach them. And happens before they reach puberty, and their childhood years is by far the better time for them to pick up almost anything to learn. They're perfectly capable of doing advanced algebra and trigonometry and calculus when they're 8, 10, 12 years old. When they get to 13, they don't really care anymore. And it's a sadness that we don't attack them early on with a way that will convince them that they can learn, and then go ahead and get out of the way and give them the tools and let them learn. All of my students in this class, and I've taught for 20 years, at least 70, no, at least, yeah, 70 a term, 2 classes. Not one person in all of that time ever failed to become a past master. Not one person. Now, we who teach math understand that that is not real. And yet that's my experience. And my Cherokee friend Gal, who brought me over here today, is convinced that we have to get somebody to use this in the classroom and to have it as a double blind and figure out how we can convince people that this is what they should be doing. The last one is a moving figure. And it, in the Inuit, they have a thing called Katiluik, bring things together. I'm going to use the first weave of the Inuit with a non-transverse string there. And again, rotate it, and then use my inverse. So once you do the Cherokee 7 stars, which is fairly simple once you learn the original figure, you go back and you can do this. And again, you have to do everything perfectly. And I have found that I do make mistakes whenever I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time. So if I make a mistake, don't laugh at me too much. I don't really care, because I'm a bit of a clown, and I'll show you that in a second too. Now I'm going to use the anti-inverse, the Navajo operation, and a release move, and an anti-inverse, the Navajo, and a release move, and spread it out, and you can see it's like a three-dimensional kind of thing, but it doesn't really show its true potential. I'll put diamonds on it, like the original diamonds I just showed you at the beginning, and then pull it apart. Murphy's power lift. Straighten out the teeth, and you see this wonderful mouth. Okay? So I'm trying to say that every student in my class was able to do this.
Oh, wow.
And diamonds and the Cherokee 7 stars and all of it. So I'll talk to you about anything you want to talk about, but I want you to take this with you. Yeah, it's, here, y'all can pass back, okay? Give me one second. What's involved? Algorithmic learning, first 2 pages. The next page is my little graph from Science Magazine, and it talks about why this works. But the last page is the one that I want you to pay attention to. Because you can email me, talk to me. I have a website, taurusflex.com. It's also down at the bottom here. I have 127 pages on doing string figures. First group in an accordion thing on the right is why string figures, and it's a bunch of my blogs that I put on HuffPo and Wall Street Journal and stuff like that. And then the second one is a developmental approach, and it follows what I did. The diamonds, tin men, Inuit net, 3-loop opening, 4 loops, and more complex things. And so I want you all to feel free to talk to me anytime you want to over the internet. And this is what I do in my class.
But you have to pay attention or you're not going to get one. Some of these are longer than the other ones. Yeah, you're very good at that. Okay. Man is anxious. Don't worry, I'll get everybody one. There you go.
Yes.
There you go. Oh, I tried to get that over here in the center. Okay, you already have one? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just throwing them out, that's all. There we go. And there we go. There we go. Oh, there we go. There. Oh, you got one already. Well, the yellow is slightly longer.
That was mine.
Oh, that was yours? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
One. Back in the back there. Wow. Okay. Everybody get one?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, fire at me. I'm willing to talk about anything. Oh, I know what I forgot. The higher intellectual ordering part of the brain. This thing up here in the front where all the correlations is mapped more fully by the hands and fingers than by any other part of the body. Period. Throat larynx is a distant second. And I've done all the research and read all the science magazines. We were a hand animal before we became a voice animal. It shows in the way the brain is organized and our ability to access it. We devalue the hands in this society to our peril. We should use the hands in the beginning with small children so that they can learn how to learn and do all of the creative things that they're capable of doing, that we hamstring them and don't let them do.
Thank you. Here, academic support in summer mathematics.